Pocahontas is a romance drama film released in 1995 by Walt Disney Animation Studios. The film was directed by Eric Goldberg and Mike Gabriel and is based on a true story of a young Native American girl who falls in love with a European settler. Pocahontas is the daughter of a chief who feels that his fiercest warrior is the perfect fit for her, though Pocahontas disagrees. When European settlers from the Virginia Company arrive, she encounters John Smith. The situation between their people is tense, and later that night a tragedy occurs, and this leads to both groups to the brink of war. Only the love of Pocahontas and Smith can prevent the bloodshed of their people. Born in 1596, Pocahontas' real name was Amonute. Pocahontas was merely a nickname. The movie, set in 1607, accurately portrays the time period by using an overhead shot to show the new Union flag, which was designed in 1606, and the governor is shown with a pet pug. Pugs were introduced in the 16th century to Europe and were fashionable around 1600. This shows remarkable attention to detail of the time period on Disney's part, although they did choose to overlook the fact that Pocahontas was 10 years old when 27-year-old John Smith and the colonists arrived. The real Smith and Pocahontas were never romantically involved. During the film, we also see Disney using bright red and angry colours as the groups are preparing for war. This symbolises tension and portrays the natives as savages. The English and the natives then realise their mistakes and they all make peace. But in reality, the white colonisers stole their land and had a brutal campaign of cultural and ethnic cleansing during the settlement in 1492 to 1890. The scene where Pocahontas jumps over a waterfall from a cliff isn't geographically accurate, as Jamestown is on a coastal plain. You don't get waterfalls without bedrock, and coastal plains don't have bedrock. It's clear that Disney was more concerned about the aesthetic visuals of the scenery rather than the geographical accuracy. Although that scene was beautifully animated using techniques such as establishing shots that feature the beauty of the crystal clear water and its surroundings. Although Pocahontas has some flaws, it features very fluid animations and has an incredibly entertaining storyline. Disney should be praised for its ability to incorporate minor details from the time period, such as the Union flag. I would rate it 4 out of 5 stars for entertainment value, as it has a captivating plot, and 2 out of 5 for historical and geographical accuracy due to its lack of attention to the real story of Pocahontas and landscapes and landforms of the area.
You can't sail?
I am self-taught.
Disney's Moana was released in November 2016, directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, starring Dwayne Johnson as Maui and Ali Carvalho as Moana. It is an entertaining movie for the whole family. A young free-spirited girl dreams of sailing beyond the seas but is forbidden by her father, yet still sails out on a daring mission to prove herself a wayfinder and to accomplish her unfulfilled quest. She is guided by a once mighty demigod where they fulfill this quest together despite the impossible odds along the way of their journey.
I should be sailing.
It's called wayfinding, princess. It's not just sails and knots. It's seeing where you're going in your mind.
The story of Moana and Maui in the film actually takes place at an estimated 2,000 years ago. There's no GPS or maps that will help Moana navigate her way across the ocean and back to her home island. What explorers and Polynesians did to sail their ships across the sea were to read the stars. During the film, we see a flashback of Moana's ancestors voyaging. This shows how Polynesians would travel the seas using their navigation skills. Mythology of the culture is done entirely in traditional Polynesian art style. This backstory lays out the beliefs of the Polynesians, which includes a pantheon of gods for various aspects of life as well as demigods. In the movie, the painting and wall hanging symbolize the people of Motunui stories of creation, many involving the gods. Although Moana portrays Polynesian culture well, some bits of the movie are so fictional that the audience can't see the full picture of the culture's interaction with the rest of the globe. For example, Maui is a real sacred demigod to Native Hawaiians, and many feel offended by the portrayal of Maui. Maui is portrayed as an uneducated man, while Polynesian demigods are seen as lithe teenage boys. Many Native Hawaiians do not want their young children watching Disney's portrayal of the sacred demigod. What many people may not know about the film is that many of the animated islands pictured on screen were modelled, sketched and coloured to mirror the island scenery of New Zealand. As well as 3D animations, we also see 2D cartoon-like animations, especially when talking about Maui. Mini Maui represents a massive technical achievement, being the first 2D character to interact with the 3D world around him so seamlessly. Some other techniques used in the movie are dark colours show lack of life when the island's dying, and the stereoscopic effect makes certain camera angles even more dramatic. For example, when we're looking down the face of a mountain as our heroes climb. Overall, I think Moana did a pretty decent job of portraying the Polynesian culture. Moana is still a powerful movie that is wonderfully animated. I highly recommend you check this movie out. I rate it 4 out of 5 stars for entertainment value, but 3 out of 5 stars for historical and geographical accuracy.
Mulan was released by Walt Disney Pictures Animation on June 19, 1998. The movie is set in Northern Wei, China during the Han Dynasty. Hua Mulan was a Chinese female warrior who lived during the Northern and Southern Dynasty, which was between 420 and 589 CE. The old Chinese folktale is about the story of a young Chinese maiden, Mulan, who is the only child of her honored family. When the emperor requests that one man from every family to serve the imperial army and fight the invading Han, Mulan fears that her father is no longer up to fighting and takes his place in the Chinese army, disguising herself as Fa Ping. The directors of the film are Tony Bancroft and Barry Cook. Mulan is voiced by Ming-Na Wen and Li Shang is voiced by B.D. Wong. Some Chinese stereotypes and beliefs in the movie include Grandma Fa's cricket, an apple for serenity, a pendant for balance, and a jade for beauty. This was all given to Mulan before meeting the matchmaker by her grandma. During the process of becoming a bride, Mulan must recite a passage by memory. It's known as the final admonition. This was used in the Tang Dynasty from 618 to 907 AD. They were the guidelines to be ideal women and showed exemplary behavior of submission. The 4 main techniques in the movies are color. The use of color is vital since cultural differences are being used. Music. Most of the music based in this movie is based on typical Chinese cultural music. Some traditional instruments used in the film are erhu, huzhang, bamboo plates, and flute. Setting, which is another fact of the cultural differences. The 2 main camera techniques are high and low angles. Some more techniques in the movies are light changes depending on the mood, music changes getting louder and faster during scenes with action, Mulan cutting her hair which symbolizes the end of her femininity, silence to build suspense, and dramatic music. In the intro of the film, the word Mulan is underlined by a red dragon, which symbolizes power, luck, and nobleness in the Chinese culture. The only geographic information on Mulan is that the movie was set in the Northern Wei era in China. There is no exact evidence or information on Mulan's whereabouts in the film. In conclusion, I think Mulan was a great film. The animation is amazing as well as the color and artistic animation. The music was fit perfectly in their scenes and also very memorable and entertaining, and is one of the best assets to the film. I really like the fact that Disney is exploring legends from other cultures, and I am so glad it brought us this one. I was thrilled to see the portrayal of a strong female character surviving because of her own integrity. The film is also a fun example of telling a story centering around a girl rather than the countless tales celebrating boys as heroes. There was also love in the movie where Mulan and Captain Li Shang fall in love. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all, is what the emperor tells Li Shang after Mulan saves China. He tells Li Shang this as he knows that they both love each other and that he won't find another woman like Mulan. It's a beautiful, well-known quote from the movie. The film seemed fresh, well-made, humorous and fun, something for audiences all ages to watch and enjoy.
I am Merida, firstborn descendant of Clan Dunbrog, and I'll be shooting for my own hand.
Directed by Brenda Chapman and Mark Andrews, Brave is a fun, meaningful movie for all ages. The film was produced by Pixar Studios, then released by Disney in 2012. Despite being Pixar's 13th animation, it was their first film to star a female protagonist. Set in 10th century Scotland, Brave follows the story of the young, headstrong Princess Merida, voiced by Kelly MacDonald. Merida is a skilled archer fighting to free herself from marriage rather than proving she's worthy of it. After seeking help from an unconventional witch, voiced by Julie Walters, she finds herself discovering the real meaning of bravery and reversing a horrible curse before it's too late.
Merida, a princess does not place her weapons on the table.
Mom!
Throughout the movie, directors explore the ever-changing mother-daughter relationship between Merida and Queen Eleanor. We can tell there is tension between the two from the dialogue used and a close-up shot after Merida goes against her mother. We also see a flashback
of Eleanor comforting a young Merida during a storm. These techniques perfectly capture the ups and downs of their relationship. Dim lighting and suspenseful music is used in many of the forest scenes, alluding to something bad or tragic happening in the near future. The characters in the film fit the Scottish stereotype perfectly. From the curly red hair and strong accents to their big appetites and violent manner. Scotland's climate is generally cool and wet, but day-to-day weather can vary enormously and unpredictably. This is accurate in the film as we see bright sunny days, raging storms, and everything in between. The main antagonist of the movie, Mordu, actually stems from Scottish mythology. Legend has it the 13-foot-tall demon bear lived on for centuries after seeking help from a witch, as depicted in the movie. The wisps also play a huge part in the movie and are seen in folklore throughout most of Europe. They were said to lead you to either treasure or doom, ultimately changing your fate. Sailors would follow these lights, thinking they were fairies, and then eventually drown in the bogs. However, the clothing seen in the movie spans over an oddly long time period, from the late Iron Age to the 12th century. A corset we see Merida wearing before the competition wasn't actually seen until the late 16th century. A slight inaccuracy of the architecture of the castle is the utilization of glass. In the film, we see massive glass windows throughout the castle, when in reality, glass was too expensive to be used so much in one building. Brave is said to have been set in the 10th century because that's the last time Scotland had any bears. Unfortunately, they haven't been seen in any Scottish folklore since the medieval times. Although there is room for improvement regarding the historical accuracy, this not-so-typical fairy tale is one of Disney's most unique films. As well as empowering young girls to write their own story, it provides a good laugh for the whole family. Overall, I'd rate this movie 4 out of 5 stars.